This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Here's your report.
Oh, thanks, Jane. I wish I could hire someone just like you.
Try LinkedIn Hiring Pro. It's more than a job board. It's like the recruiter you always wished you had. Hiring Pro uses real-time insights to match your role to LinkedIn's unique network of professionals and delivers a short list of best fit candidates. You'll spend less time sorting applicants and more time talking to the right people.
Let's do it. You're irreplaceable, Jane, but another you would be great.
Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Hello and welcome to the Plant School podcast. I'm Rachel Tenney, and here we learn all about plants, how they work, how to care for them, and it's all taught in a way that anyone from beginner to expert can listen to, understand, and enjoy. So I hope that you will join me in Plant School. Hello and welcome to the Plant School podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about the Calathea plant. Why I have not done an episode about Calatheas, I don't know, because I feel like this is probably one of the most needed episodes since this plant is known for being a little bit tricky. So we're going to talk about its history, its symbolism, and then in the second half of the episode, we're going to get into exactly how to care for it and keep it happy. Before we get into all of that, I'm going to quickly do our giveaway winners. I choose 2 winners every single episode. Just as a thank you to my listeners, I send you a gift card so that you can go plant shopping. And what I do is I take one person that has left a review on Apple Podcasts. So if you are listening over there or you have an account over there, you can quickly go on, type up a written review, and that enters you in. And then I take another winner from Spotify, someone who has commented on the most recent episode. So you can scroll down on this episode to the comment section and go ahead and leave a comment. Maybe you can tell me if you have a Calathea or why you'll never get one, or just whatever you would like to comment. That will enter you into the giveaway as well. And you can enter in as many times as you would like. So today's winner, starting with Apple Podcasts, the person who left this review, their username is Tara Freddy, and they said, I'm listening for the first time, and the first episode I chose was about the common plant mistakes collected from a Reddit thread. I quickly realized I had been making one of those mistakes myself. I'm so grateful to have found this podcast. It will be the perfect listen on my daily 40-minute commute. I'm so glad you found this podcast too. Welcome, all you new listeners out there. I really do appreciate you being here. And Tara Freddy, thank you for leaving a review as well. It means so much to me. If you could go ahead and email me at tennyplants@gmail.com. That's TENNEY plants@gmail.com. I'll connect with you there and we can get all the details needed to get you a gift card so you can go houseplant shopping at your favorite local plant store or wherever fits you best. And then moving over to Spotify, someone who left a comment on the most recent episode. Their name is Megan Bomba, and they said, thanks, Professor. I've never had that title before. Thank you, Megan. They continue, they say, my husband is a veteran high school math teacher, and he got a new room this year with a giant wall of east-facing windows. My plan is to fill that ledge with plants to help reduce his students' math anxiety. It will be my own little plants and wellness study. I love that so much, Megan. Oh my gosh, it sounds like it's going to be gorgeous, first of all. And what a sweet wife you are for filling your husband's classroom with plants on that ledge. So if you could go ahead and email me as well, and I'll get your details so I can send you a gift card as well. And one little last thing before I get into Calatheas is that I am hosting a trip to England this coming May of 2027. Anyone and everyone is welcome. This is going to be a group trip of like-minded people. Think of like people who are really into plants, into gardening, and we are going to England specifically to see the Chelsea Flower Show, which is the most prestigious flower show in the world. And then we're also going to be visiting English gardens, Some of my very favorites are in our itinerary, eating good food, spending time together. If that sounds like something you are interested in, I'm going to include the link in the show notes. So feel free to click on that, peruse the full itinerary, look at the dates, the price, and see if it fits for you. I would absolutely love to have you there. If you use code PLANTSCHOOL, that will give you a huge discount when you are booking as well. All right, let's get into our Calathea. So starting with the question of what is a Calathea, if you have not had the pleasure of seeing one before, they are a flowering plant in the Marontaceae family, or the arrowroot family. This family includes the Maranta genus, which is your other prayer plants. Calatheas are often called prayer plants, but there is another prayer plant that is Maranta lucinera, and that is the other prayer plant that we know. So they're in the same family, but Calatheas are very different. And as I was researching, there were about 260 members of the Calathea genus, but just recently, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, about 200 members of the Calathea genus were taken out. They were put into a new genus. This genus name, I'm honestly not sure on the pronunciation. I looked up different ways. Some people say Gopertia, while others say it Gepertia. So I feel like Gopertia kind of flows off the tongue easier, so that's the way I'll refer to it from now on. But the fact of the matter is that some of our most common Calathea houseplants that we know and love, they were moved to the Gopertia genus. So us calling them Calatheas is actually incorrect. Does anyone really care? No, not really. At this point, it's more so a marketing name and what people are familiar with. And this includes your really common Calatheas, like your rattlesnake plant, formerly known as Calathea lancifolia. It is now Gopertia insignis. And your Calathea orbifolia, which is another hugely popular Calathea, it is now Gopertia orbifolia. Why did they separate them? Why couldn't they have just kept it all in the one Calathea genus? This is why. There has been modern DNA research and morphological research that has shown that there needed to be a separation. So really this episode should be called the Gopertia Care Guide, not the Calathea Care Guide. But for the sake of keeping it simple, we are going to refer to them as Calatheas. Obviously, Calatheas, Gopertias, they have largely the same care. And the ones in your home are going to be in the Gopertia genus rather than the Calathea genus. But like I said, we're going to call them Calatheas just for the sake of name recognition. That's largely what marketers are doing as well. So our Calatheas, their leaves are often very colorfully patterned with pink, orange, red, white, etc. They have stunning foliage, which is the whole reason why they are such a famous and well-loved and well-collected houseplant today. They do have flowers. It is very rare for them to flower indoors. It's very hard for them to do, but their flowers, they are small and they can be yellow, purple, and white, and they will generally bloom in the summer if they have good enough conditions for it, but like I said, it's very rare to happen indoors. The name Calathea comes from the Greek word calathus, which means basket. This is due to the flowers resembling small baskets, and I think also this wasn't something that was noted in why it had this name, but as I was connecting the dots, they have been used for basket weaving. I will talk about that as we kind of go through this plant's history, but I am sure this is another reason why the name Calathea was chosen.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
Running a small business means I wear lots of hats. When I put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn Hiring Pro to make it easy. LinkedIn Hiring Pro helps manage my hiring workflow, puts my job post in front of a unique network of professionals, and matches me with the best candidates for my business. I can also share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. No wonder most small businesses say they'd use LinkedIn Hiring Pro again. Hire right the first time. Post your job for free on LinkedIn today at linkedin.com/quality.
Common names for this plant include the peacock plant, rattlesnake plant, prayer plant, zebra plant, and the zelmira plant. During the night, Calatheas, they do fold up, similar to your Maranta genus or your other prayer plants. This phenomenon is known as nyctinasty, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Surely it can't be, maybe it's nyctinasty? That's probably more correct because nyctinasty sounds a little bit silly. But basically what this is these plants have a very small joint between the stem and the leaf. It's called the pulvinus. And the Maranta genus has this as well. And they are known for being more athletic in this nature of being able to fold up and down very easily. But Calatheas are a close second where they do have that motion of it folding up at night, almost like hands up in prayer, and they come down during the day. So let's talk about what the Calathea symbolizes. So they are known to symbolize a new beginning. Also, don't neglect me. They can symbolize being a show-off or turning over a new leaf. A lot of different symbols held in there. And they are also known to hold the possible powers of beginning anew. So perhaps a great gift for someone who has just moved with that symbolism of a new beginning and the possible powers of beginning anew. All right, let's talk about where they originate. Where do they naturally grow? So most Calatheas are native to the tropical rainforests of Central and South America, especially Brazil, and they have been introduced to Hawaii. So they do live there as well, but that is not their native habitat. And something that I found pretty interesting is that there is a specific Calathea, Calathea zebrina, and it's a very important foliage plant for the purple owl butterfly. It primarily feeds on this plant and would not survive without it. And sadly, due to habitat destruction, there are several species of Calatheas that are threatened with extinction. All right, let's talk about their history. I love this part because Calatheas and Gopurtias, I should say, include a large variety of different plants. This is more so an overview of their history, not too many of the specifics. So, in their native range, the large leaves of the Calathea plants, they were traditionally used for holding small items. For example, they would wrap up fish in them for transport. They would use it in basketry. They would even use it for roof thatching. The Nukuk people of Colombia have used them in handicraft to produce different containers, most notably quivers to hold their arrows. And perhaps most famously, they are used as rice containers in some villages in Thailand, especially in Ban Huoc, where they are an important source of income and sold to locals and tourists alike. And going along with their use by the native people, there are two Calatheas, the Calathea lutea and the Calathea aloea, and they have edible tubers. And a tuber is basically like, think of your potato. It's this very swollen, fleshy underground plant structure that stores energy so the plant can survive. Not necessarily a root, not necessarily a stem, it's a tuber. And they would eat these tubers of those two Calatheas. It was a very essential food crop in parts of South America, particularly in the Amazon basin. And in that same area, in the Amazon basin, they would use Calatheas in rituals and in ceremonies. And they also would take those pliable plant fibers that the Calathea has and use them for baskets and for mats and other woven items. So that's where I was kind of pulling from, where that Greek word calathis, meaning basket, I feel like could refer back to some of its native uses that it was and is still today being used for. So during the 18th and 19th century, when exploration was a huge deal, European botanists came in, they quote-unquote discovered these Calatheas, and they brought them back to Europe, specifically to France, the UK, and the Netherlands. And from there, they became quite popular houseplants. The 1970s and the 1980s, Calatheas saw a huge surge in their popularity. Again, it was just due to their striking foliage and their leaves. They are so beautiful, and also they vary quite a bit. Probably the most popular species is the Calathea medallion, or the pinstripe plant is its common name. And today they have seen a resurgence in their popularity, probably like within the past decade. And there have been a lot of cultivars that are being developed. New patterns, new colors to these Calatheas. And something that I found interesting is that the Calathea orbifolia, now known as the Japortia orbifolia, it was not legal, technically, in New Zealand to own one or to sell one up until 2021. There were just some complicated houseplant regulations. I don't think anyone was really looking into it or enforcing it, but it was technically illegal to own one of these plants. Now it is not. It is totally fine, but due to certain regulations, it was for a time. All right, with that, let's pivot. Let's get into the care of our Calatheas. Why are they so fussy? Why are they so hard? Let me just say, Calatheas are not a houseplant that thrive with neglect. So just keep that in mind. It is why I don't own one, because I'm quite a neglectful plant parent at this point in my life. And so a Calathea would not love it in here. So let's start with the question of how to water them. So they can be a little bit touchy with their watering because they prefer a moist soil, not a sopping wet soil. Some people kind of describe it to be about the same as a wrung out sponge. So it's moist, it's not sopping wet, it's not super dry. You want to, of course, with that, make sure that your Calathea has drainage. Water more sparingly in the winter months when it's kind of having a slower time using up that water. But this is a huge part of why Calatheas don't thrive with neglectful plant parents, because you do need to keep their soil somewhat moist. And speaking of water, they do not like tap water, which is so unfortunate because that's all I use. They prefer distilled, filtered, or rainwater, since those lack chlorine and fluoride like your tap water does, and they are very sensitive to that. If you do use hard water or tap water, it can cause the leaf edges to turn brown. Also, overwatering is a big no. It can cause droopy leaves, which I feel like is really tricky when they do like moist soil, but you don't want to do too much. It's a very fine balance for these plants. Calatheas also thrive in humidity. So if you have a bathroom that has room for a plant, Calatheas will love that. You can group them up with other plants to kind of help raise the humidity, or use a humidifier. Too dry of air can cause their leaf edges to turn brown, and they actually don't do super well with their leaves getting wet. So misting them, spraying them down is not really recommended. It can introduce bacterial and fungal disease to their leaves. Moving on to their lighting needs, they do prefer bright and direct sun, though they are pretty sensitive to direct sun. It can cause leaf scorch. It can cause the leaves to actually fade in color and not be as vibrant. This is because these plants are naturally on shady floors in tropical areas, so they don't need that direct sun. They are used to being in those more dimly lit areas. They do prefer temperatures anywhere from 60 degrees and above, that's 16 degrees Celsius and above. Their ideal temperature is anywhere from like 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 23 to 29 degrees Celsius. Too cold of conditions, or like a drafty area, an AC unit, anything like that being by a Calathea, it's not going to love it. It's going to cause its leaves to droop. They are very sensitive to temperature changes when it comes to getting too cold.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Moving on to how to fertilize them, you want to feed them about once every 3 months or just during the growing seasons. And I would recommend using your standard 10-10-10 fertilizer or 20-20-20. Those numbers are simply referring to the percentage of active ingredients of your nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, respectively, in that order. So a 20-20-20 is 20% of the active ingredients are nitrogen, 20% phosphorus, and 20% potassium. If you do over-fertilize them, that can also cause brown leaf edges. A lot of things can cause brown leaf edges. We've got over-fertilizing, too dry of air, and also using hard water. So any of those three things, you're going to have to kind of deduce and see what's going on. And speaking of that process, if you guys ever have a problem with your houseplant and you're not sure what's going on, I've created this houseplant help guide. The link is just in my show notes, and you just insert your email and it sends it to you for free. But it's really helpful for when you are dealing with a problem and you just aren't sure what's going on. It can kind of walk you through the process of figuring out how to help your houseplant. And Calatheas might be a good one to do this with, since they can be a little bit touchy. But let's talk about Calatheas and how to repot them. What kind of soil do they like? So repotting should occur hopefully in spring and summer during those active growing seasons. Move it to a pot that's 1 to 2 inches bigger, not anything that is too large. Signs that your Calathea needs to be repotted is typical of most all other houseplants. There are roots coming out the bottom of the pot. You're watering it and it seems to be drying out incredibly quickly. That's a sign that there are more roots than soil. Or it just seems like it has outgrown its pot. Calatheas do prefer porous and well-draining soil since they are pretty sensitive to root rot. A recommended blend that I saw online is about 60% peat or cocoa coir, 40% perlite or pumice, and then people like to put in worm castings for nutrition or things like that. Moving on, how to prune them. It's pretty easy because the only pruning they really need is just removing dead or yellowing or damaged leaves. You simply cut them off at the base of the stem to remove the entire leaf and stem. It's not really recommended, for example, if you had a leaf that had crispy leaf edges and you wanted to trim off those edges. That's not recommended because you are just going to get more dead leaf edges by doing so. It is better just to remove the entire leaf if it is damaged enough. And moving on to propagation, this one is actually a very simple answer as well because your Calatheas can't be propagated in too many ways. Their main way is just division. You take it out of its pot and you can physically divide this plant up into different sections and create new plants via that process. Commercially, they don't do this. Commercially, they use micropropagation, where they take very small pieces of the plant, put it in a petri dish, it grows from there, and they are able to grow them in mass. But it is very difficult to do that in our homes. So mostly you will see it being propagated by division. All right, I have 3 questions left that I want to cover. The first one being, are they prone to any pests? Spider mites are the most common for Calatheas. Spider mites just thrive in low humidity, dry, and hot conditions. So keeping up your humidity not only keeps your Calathea happy, but it can also help deter spider mites as well. If you have them, I recommend using everything you have got. Wiping them away with a cotton swab dipped in diluted rubbing alcohol, washing them off, using an insecticide because spider mites are quite tricky in the fact that they build up their immunity really fast. So you want to hit them at all the different angles by using all the pest control options. They can also deal with mealybug, aphids, scale, fungus gnats. They can also cause problems. And again, you can physically remove them. You can use a cotton swab dipped in that diluted rubbing alcohol. You can wash them off. You can use neem oil or an insecticidal soap or an insecticidal spray. For fungus gnats, I really suggest mosquito bits as being super helpful. All of those are options for getting rid of pests on your Calatheas. Next, I have some extra care tips. The first being just clean their leaves. Some of them have quite large leaves and you want to keep them free of dust to really help them photosynthesize and be healthy. It's also a great time to see if your plant has any pests as you dust them down. So just get a clean microfiber cloth and you can wipe them that way with a dry one. You can get it slightly wet. You can use a leaf shine product. And another little extra note is that they are non-toxic to your cats and dogs. So this is a pet-friendly plant for sure. And my last question, it is how long do they live? And your Calatheas in general will live about 2 to 5 years, but a lot of people are able to keep them around for 5 to 10 years. And hopefully with this care guide in your back pocket, you will be able to keep your Calathea alive for that long as well. I just want to say thank you so much for listening, and I hope you will join me in 2 weeks for a brand new episode of the Plant School Podcast. Thank you so much for being here and for listening to the Plant School Podcast. I hope that you will join me for our next episode. And if you would like to support this podcast and keep it going, there's a link down in the show notes of this episode where you can donate to this podcast. And I really appreciate all that help. Or you can go to my merch store, which is also linked in the notes of this episode. And you can find some really cool plant-related shirts and stickers. And if you want to support the podcast but spend no money, feel free to share it with a friend, leave a review. All these things greatly help me out and allow me to keep doing this. Again, thank you so much for listening and for being here at the Plant School Podcast.